What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of The Cure as we continue through their 1992 album Wish. Thank you as always to Phil. And the next track in the playlist is High. So following Open, I have to notice the two single word titles to start off the album. Hello, Luca. As well as both of them being descriptive words, essentially adjectives. Now, someone mentioned that the first track's title was derived from the manner in which the guitars were, I don't know if it was tuned or the way they were played, but yes, there was a suggestion that that was the meaning for the first tune. So maybe there's something similar happening here. Either way, the idea of being elevated is, in one sense, an independent term, but it's also relative, meaning you're only high if there are other things which are lower. And of course, high has different meanings. It can literally be about height or elevation, but it can also relate to intoxication, for example. It also can relate to a feeling of invigoration. You're on a high because something good has happened. So yeah, there are many potential directions this could go, but it is a single word title, so we'll just have to see. This is The Cure. The track title is High, and it's the second tune on their 1992 album Wish. Little stardust over the track. So, okay, first of all, lyrically, I mean, it starts, I think there's a reference to a kite, which of course flies high in the sky. And I think he's talking about another person being high, which I assume is a conceptual meaning. And I think he said something like he can never get that high himself. But yeah, it feels like there are visual references happening here, but they are reflective of like emotional elevation, if you will. There's certainly lines about like holding on to this other person tight, which I mean, that feels very common in a lot of Robert slash Cure songs. But here, I don't quite know if there is not an underbelly, but if there's a complication or if there's difficulties. It feels like a light and elevated tune thematically, and yet again, I think there was a line about like he can never get up there, so maybe there's a separation, or at the very least, like he can't, like he wants to hold on to the other person because they are high, and therefore, like if he lets go, he might sink or fall. So I don't know if that's what's happening. Either way, I enjoy Robert's vocals. They're rich. I was thinking like a minute into the track that it's like, wow, it's almost like, because again, people mention that, the guitar becomes a bit more prominent here, and it's maybe a bit more in like a pop rock vein rather than the, synth rock or like new wave, for lack of a better word. Again, I get it. Like the previous album, 89, I don't think new wave is a term that's relevant anymore. But yeah, that like the sound or the stylings of the band are shifting with this album. I do hear that a bit, and I will say like the guitar work and just the overall vibe of the tune, it was making me think about a minute in that like this is almost like a Smiths track, but if you put Robert Smith's voice in instead of Morrissey. The more it went on, the less it felt like that, and the more it felt like, this is very much a Cure tune. Not heavy and cycling and brooding, not quirky and, sort of eccentric like some of the tracks, on previous albums. Love Cats always comes to mind. And not that kind of raw, post-punk type of feel of the early stuff. But it still felt very much, identifiably and characteristically a Cure tune. But again, maybe with a bit more guitar work that's, sort of heading into the pop rock vein. In any case, I enjoyed what I caught from the tune thematically, and I do look forward to any insights people have. But yeah, I'm intrigued where, as far as I can tell, there wouldn't be a reference here to, in some way, the way the instruments are played or something. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I was curious about that, just remembering what someone said about Open. Nevertheless, I am looking forward to the rest of this album and all of the remainder of the Cure catalog, and again, at some point, we'll go back and go through more of the demos and, B-sides and, tracks that are in the second folders on these deluxe editions. So big thank you once again to Phil and to all those who've been following these Cure Thursdays. You are very much appreciated. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I, you're taking off? That's it? Well, she and I will see you next time. Peace.